Spanish speaking audience, young entrepreneurs. It's a pleasure to have you. Really appreciate this time.
Hola, ¿qué tal?
Well, have you been in Spain or in Latin America or somewhere?
No, I've been to Spain many times. I've been
Nice.
to Mallorca a lot in the summer times when I was young. And now I'm really lucky and I'm working with Minutes Network, Minutes Network Token X,
Awesome.
and leadership are based in Spain. So I'm very fortunate and I get to come to Barcelona and then places like Sitges.
Oh,
And
that's
then we
great.
go, yeah, I go to Mobile World Congress, which obviously
Of
is
course.
in Barcelona. Yeah,
Of
love
course.
Spain.
Yeah, you should come to Madrid. We have the best football or soccer team in the world.
Well, I've I've heard it's very good. I am a
Yeah.
Chelsea Football Club supporter, so
Ah, okay,
I have
okay.
my own opinion.
Best of both worlds then. Well, thank you, Jamie. Again, it's a true pleasure to have you to learn from the best. So I wanted to start this conversation with some origins. I know it's not the your personal origins, but I did want to go back to when you co-founded Rockstar, and what was your vision into was it building a game studio, or were you guys this small group that changed the video game and even the cultural shift in society? Were you conscious of what were you doing, or how was the ambition looking also in that precise moment?
It was an incredible time. We were young. I would say it was a combination of being really excited about a game that we were making, and I was very fortunate to join when Grand Theft Auto One was being finished and this is before Rockstar, and just for anyone that interfaced with the early versions of that game, it was very clear you hadn't experienced anything like it in the sense of the sort of the I would say the carefree freedom combined with the writing, the storytelling, uh, and so let's say cultural nuances. Um, Obviously, we had Grand Theft Auto One and we had Grand Theft Auto Two, and around the time of Grand Theft Auto Two and GTA London, we launched the Rockstar label, and I think label is a very important word in terms of how we saw ourselves and not necessarily a studio. I mean, it was interesting because we were on the publishing side. Back then, there was quite a big division between publishers and developers. We, I think, were quite novel at that moment in time in the way that we approached making games like content creators now, like filmmakers, like artists, like music producers. And we cared deeply about the game content. And so we were very involved in the development as opposed to just turning up and expecting a gold master and doing marketing that wasn't really connected to the heart of soul of the game and treating it like a product and not a truly like interactive experience. And when we created Rockstar Games, label was an important word because we would look at brands like Def Jam, like the Beastie Boys, and how they built their brand, their labels. And we were very clear on the idea, we passionately believed the idea that games were perhaps misunderstood, or the what a game could be was underappreciated. And for the majority of society, games were for children And if you were a grown up making a game or playing a video game, you were socially awkward or inept, or there was something outlier and loner about you. And there were all the jokes about your programming in the basement, right, on a Saturday. And I think the team that came together that created Rockstar grew up in modern cities, very interested in film and music and art and architecture and fashion. And we were all very quick to sort of, I think, appreciate the power of video games. And with something like Grand Theft Auto, how a video game could be for grown-ups, and how a video game wasn't just a toy and could give a sense of agency, and could compete with the best films and music albums and concert experiences, and really was the future, was like a superior form of entertainment.
That's very interesting. So you envision yourselves more obviously a label, but as an entertainment company, and you would actually say that your competitors were other industries and were the time that people invested on their personal entertainment, movie versus
Yeah,
music versus video game.
yes, I think the history of video games. I'm not an expert, and it's been a while since I made video games, but the development and the coding was all new, right? It was programming, and it was back when you would have a floppy disk, and it would be on the front cover of PC Magazine, and it would come with a load of free PC games, and you to operate a PC and to make a game, code a game, or download and play a game, you needed a certain amount of programming, computer education that was quite nascent, right? It was early days. Um, and therefore, I think there was a lot of sort of friction and barrier. There were the arcades. You'd go to the arcade and play, and that was quite a social, but still a very sort of singular experience, right? Everyone else is sort of excluded and watching on the sidelines, and one person is playing. Um, and then on the publishing side, we had the opinion, and I think a lot of the better PC developers, certainly like all the developers that made up Gathering of Developers, who we work very closely with, were of the opinion that publishers didn't know what they were doing, didn't appreciate the code, the art, what it took. A lot of the marketing people came from consumer packaged goods companies, and that there was this sort of disconnect. And we were coming from a world where we loved culture and grew up just like we grew up with American and European like music and films and art and fashion, and it just came natural to us. I think they were very rich environments to draw from, to add to the game experience, so that we were providing something that could connect with our generation, right? Where they could see themselves, right? This is who I am. This is what I reject, right? And like the youth audiences, they're not just buying entertainment, right? They're buying signals, right, to that, right, of their identity and who they are, and I think maybe we treated games more like an identity layer. I just think we were, and look, I think it's easy hindsight to look back and go, oh, we were thinking all these things consciously and and in a way that we could coherently articulate it like I am now. I think back then we just thought it was super cool. It was slightly misunderstood. There was controversy around it because of the maturity and the sophistication of the satire and the humor and the parody and the writing and the subject matters in the content that you're engaging with was for 18-year-olds. And so back then that was very novel. And so when with all the controversy, we never courted it and we didn't encourage it. I think we were very quick to realize, look, you can have controversy, right? But if there's no substance, if you haven't actually made something really good, you're not going to survive that controversy. I think very quickly we were in a place where everyone else wanted to make us controversial and use it as clickbait in a headline. What we were really doing was really pushing forward like several very important discourses, right? Or we were challenging the norms, and that is games are a superior form of entertainment, or interactive entertainment was a new form that was superior. The games were for grown-ups as much as they were for children. And games should be treated with games at the caliber of the games that we were making should be treated with the same respect as Hollywood studios, as Hollywood movies, as blockbuster albums. And for us, we were culturally interested in regurgitating and sort of vomiting, like reflecting everything that we went through our childhood, which was a lot of film and music and mass entertainment and, like I said, fashion. And so we just put that all back into the games. And with Grand Theft Auto, I think there were differences with the way that we ran the company to other companies in terms of the way we treated and the level of importance we gave to certain departments that weren't perhaps treated the same way in other publishing companies, the relationship that we had with the developers and as publishers, our relationship to the content that was going in the games, and then the way in which we approached the marketing and the building of the brand. And that on the marketing side and the brand building side, I think is important where the sort of using the word label. And we definitely didn't look to the rest of the games industry to inspire us. If anything, we were kind of a bit angry and determined to like completely change everything and present a much cooler, more sophisticated content that would resonate at a deeper level for longer. And we just love the product. And then so we get Grand Theft Auto 3, and we've got then Vice City, which I think really started, hit the cultural zeitgeist. It was such a beautiful piece of content in every way. And the way it connected with a mainstream audience, like in a broader, like beyond just young men, with like, let's say Grand Theft Auto 3. Sure, we could, and I could digress, right? We had sort of sub themes, right, of gaming and women and the games appeal to girls and female gaming behaviors versus male. Up till then, games were made mostly by men and published mostly by men. And so, but I think, Vice City really sort of crossed age groups, gender, geography. And my favorite will always be San Andreas, just the scale of it, and just loved that time period in America and the music and the fashion. But that's me personally. And I think by then, we've gone through protesters outside, armed guard on, at the office, sneaking in the back door, clickbait, ambulance chasing lawyers, and, parents, worrying that we're destroying the moral fiber and fabric of the youth. And where we were coming from is we're actually at the forefront of in creating and encouraging a really healthy debate about what are video games, who are video games for. We had the sort of the maturity of the age rating. And I think I would like to think that we contributed very positively to a necessary and healthy debate amongst the older generation society to understand actually we now have really sophisticated forms of interactive entertainment. And
Double clicking on that. Sorry, I interrupt, but do you think if Rockstar, more specifically, we're talking on the GTA series, hadn't existed, would you say there would be a cultural gap, and how would the
yes,
world
it would
still?
be a cultural barren wasteland of grey, cardboard, and dullness. No, look, I think there would have been a missing proof point for sure. I think you know, without Rockstar, right, and Grand Theft Auto, I think games would have still gotten there eventually, of course. And perhaps it would have taken longer for the industry to believe a game that could be both sort of commercially huge, let's say, and culturally disruptive. Um, there would have been a, like I said, a really big missing proof point. I think, I think what we did, we helped normalize, right, the idea that games could carry the same cultural weight, like I said, as film and music, and so I think we just accelerated the games industry getting there. I think we were very lucky, and there was a perfect storm of my fellow founders, the development team at Rockstar North, uh, the Americans that we met, because we were all British, right? The founders, and we moved to New York, and we were owned by Take Two, and I know 9 months in, let's say, we created the Rockstar label, and there were local New York kids, because we were all kids, that we brought into the company, into the Rockstar team. There were there were very few game publishers in on the East Coast, but there was Acclaim, and some of the acclaimed like QA team and associate producers came over, and all of them, they were all New York City kids and from Queens and Brooklyn, and we come from London, and so I think there was a very healthy sort of a connection with like-minded people, and we really, I mean, we worked 7 days a week. We were like a family. We lived and breathed everything that we were doing, because it took us a long time. We never really sort of patted ourselves on the back as soon as Grand Theft Auto 3 was done. The next day, we're planning Vice, and we made it in a year. All of a sudden, we're now making San Andreas. There's all this attention on us, the negative and the positive. And it was all not a whirlwind, but we were so hungry and determined to like keep pushing, keep pushing, keep pushing, keep perfecting, and delivering. And for me, I look at GTA 5, and they kind of did that, like amazing, like all the systems that we built, and the Rockstar Advanced Graphics Engine that we put together, the team that built that, and they're still using it, and it's just amazing. And everyone that's still at Rockstar, and it's incredible what they've achieved. And now here we have six, and the whole world is waiting for six, and can't wait for it to come out. I'm probably
Yeah.
waffling. I'm sorry. I might go off point. I apologize.
No, no, that's great. I don't know if we can also cut this question I'm going to do you. I don't know, because it's been a long time. I know what situation, but if you have any thoughts on GTA 6, this new launches, something you want to, your
When?
expectations.
When? I want to play it now.
No one.
I think it's going to be very interesting. It's hard. I don't think any other game has ever had this much anticipation.
100%.
And I think what's really interesting, is we have, the world of AI and the ability to accelerate what we can create. I think scale is one thing, right? It's the systems. I'm really curious to see the evolution of the systems in the game, the depth of those systems, because I think that's where the real sort of innovation and the real progression forward is, and which then all comes back to the strength of my emotional connection to the experience that I have inside that game engine, that simulation, right? And how deeply it's going to like resonate and connect. So, I mean, it's how does it not be just a monster blockbuster? I don't know.
Of
I mean,
course.
everyone that I work with at Minutes Network and Unity Network and Minutes Network Token X and World Mobile, because I work with these big ecosystems. We're all going to play it. Day one, for sure.
Of course.
Yeah,
Be connected also. And
yeah.
as someone who helped create like we're talking about GTA, of course, a hyper real digital universes, do you believe how is technology shifting? Are we moving towards a simulation indistinguishable from reality? Did you guys talk about this in certain, like, is it possible that we now are living in a simulation? Because I see this amazing universes being created, and I don't know. What are your thoughts on that in general, if you have any?
We have been living in a simulation forever. I believe in the Matrix. I believe that we're in a version of The Sims. Look, it's interesting. It's hot. The sophistication of video games to mimic real life, you know, and the like I said earlier, the depth and strength of the emotional connection and relationship you can have with the game. It's hard, I think, sometimes to. It's very easy to think, oh, we're all in a simulation. And for years after, and certainly having worked on so many Grand Theft Autos, but we would meet. I'd meet fans and people that played the game and loved the game and hugged me and are like, "Oh my god, you made my childhood and it's amazing." But it's quite often we would joke about, "Oh, you see a taxi or even a car, and you have that thought of yanking open the door and jumping in, sort of thing." Um, and I think with AI and the quality of or I would say technology, digital, like art, the way in which we can experience and interact with the digital world, it does feel like we're a little close, right? I mean, it's philosophically, I think it's a legitimate question, right? Um, yeah, I think technologists, right, and philosophers, right? There's we get to a certain computational capacity, right? That simulated realities become statistically probable, but you know, I don't know. I think when a world remembers you, it starts to feel real. I think even if reality were a simulation, my sense of agency is still going to matter, right? But I think because we're not just talking about better graphics, right? We're building behavioral ecosystems, so I think it's impossible not to feel like there's that crossover.
100%. Now, I have here one person from our community. He's very big fan of yours. His name is Ivan. I don't know if you can see him. He's going to do one quick question, and then we're going to move into the rapid questions to do closure. But yeah,
Okay.
this is Ivan from
Hi,
Spain.
everyone.
Hi, how are you?
I'm very good.
I'm I'm CTO of Rumpas, a Spanish startup. It's a pleasure for me stay speaking with you today and share this moment. So it's like a pleasure. Um,
Likewise.
and I have a question for you. Is if you were starting from scratch in the industry today, what would you do differently?
I would get a subscription to Claude 4.6.
Uh, I have it. I
Alien
have
tech.
it.
Alien tech. It's I would what would I if I was to start all over again like at 20, what would I do differently? Is that what you said? Could you repeat the
Yeah.
question? Sorry.
Yeah. If you start like a new video game, for example, right now in 2026, what you will do differently, like in 20 years ago?
Oh my God. Like I'm tempted to say I would do it all over again, exactly the same. um, I think I would use technology in a very different way. And look, it's hard. And when I think about that, I now have 20 years, right, since then of knowledge and experience and all the mistakes and hard lessons that I've learned being a founder, doing a startup, raising money, trying ideas, having success, losing everything, publicly failing, etc. Um, and you look at the sort of the change in technology and the tools that we have available. Um, on the one hand, I would do everything exactly the same. I think on the other, I would just use technology in a very different way today.
Okay, yeah, and what other about AI? Because AI is growing up. So if AI can be a mentor, do you think one-on-one mentorship will disappear, or will it
No.
be more important than ever?
I think it's going to be more important than ever. I think that AI makes information cheap. It is accelerating, production times, speed to market. It is making all of our CEOs, right, master of everything in a way. You've got, in theory, a world-class expert on anything in your pocket. Obviously, it depends on the language models that you're using, and it very much comes down to like your prompting capabilities. Because I think AI is very good at parroting, right? But I think mentorship is about judgment, and so an experience in. So I don't see, you know I don't see it going away. Like it's like a mentor is like a mirror, right, and not a manual. And so like direction will always sort of beat instruction. And so I think there's mentorship is really important. Obviously, after COVID and the complete disruption to for a long time to normal working environments of going to an office, I I felt that I love the office environment. I'm a people's person. I love making in the moment with team members, and I'd always rather be in the same room, than over a screen. But I think mentorship was something that was hit hard by that. And I don't see it going away. And I think there'll always be a need for human mentors, right? The best mentors will always be a mix of coach, editor, and mirror.
Yeah, 100% with you. So thank you for answering my question. I let Jorge continue with the meeting.
Thank you very much, Jamie. And then as part of our closure, I have a couple of rapid questions.
Okay.
What's your best negotiation advice?
My best negotiate will listen, like really listen and understand, like the person you're talking to, what they're saying, and like therefore really what is their pain point and what is their need. And look, I think there's wonderful techniques and tactics by like the FBI hostage rescue negotiation team will teach you about how to mirror in a conversation, right? And get the person on the other side sort of actively involved in solving the problem with you. But I would say that options is critical. You need to have some feeling of power. You need to have a sense that you can walk away. The moment there's a whiff of you need it, not even desperation, right, makes you very vulnerable. So you have to have there has to be an element to energy that you're projecting that you're fine walking away. That
100%.
right,
What
you need that platform of power, and then it really is about truly listening to what the other side is saying, right? So that you can then involve them in collectively sharing the problem or getting the negotiation you want on the terms that you need.
That's awesome. What do you do differently than 99% of the people?
Well, I should put that into a book and I should sell it. What do I do differently? I don't know. Like I'm really curious, and I need to like not know everything, but I like to really like zoom out before I just zoom in. And I don't know, but so it's hard. That's a hard question for me to answer because I'm like, well, there must be so many people who do what I do, and there's nothing that I do that is special. I try and have a very open mind. I try and zoom out and really like think about like the why of it all. And then I probably do a lot of what everyone else does. Is I just work very hard. They could bring a lot of passion to what I do, um, And I just believe like a lot of it is just hard, consistent work, and I never give up.
What's the best and worst advice you've ever been given?
The worst advice is be realistic. That's not possible. You know what I mean? Like, dumb it down. Never listen to that. The best, it's hard for me. I don't know if it's the best, but one of the better pieces of advice that I've been given that's really helped me from like a mental health and for a sense of purpose. It was actually a fellow Rockstar founder who said, if you look left, there'll be someone who's better off than you. If you look right, there'll be someone who's like worse off than you. And it's always going to be that way. So stop comparing. And it's all down to you. And if like you want something badly enough, if you feel you should have something, like it's all on you. And so don't compare yourself to other people, because that opens the door for like being bitter and negative. Like, and I'm paraphrasing and maybe I'm butchering it a bit, but it really resonated with me and allowed me to have an ownership of myself, my emotions, my mindset, and kind of feed into, like I said, my determination to just, if I believe in something, right, like anything is possible. Like the worst advice is be realistic, dumb down. No, you can't do that. That's not possible.
Wow. And to end, what's your if you could have a billboard that 8 billion people would read, or something that you could say to all the world, what would be your quote, mantra?
Oh my God, that is a very scary proposition. That's a lot of people to give a mantra to. Be kind, be nice, lead with love. If I was going to talk to that many people, I'd say that. Like, love your fellow human. Lift up people around you, right? Don't bring them down.
Let's go. Thank you very much, Jamie. Really appreciate. Lots of love also for you. What's the best soccer or football team in the world? No, just kidding.
Chelsea, come on. What are you going to say? So Real Madrid?
Yeah. I think we have the best team, but we'll see. Nah.
We'll see you in Champions League. I don't even know if I don't even know if we'll make it.
Well, we haven't had a great year also, but there we go.
Tough times. There you
So
go.
yeah.